At CES, TCL announced 3 new phones, TCL 10, TCL 10 5G, and the TCL 10 Pro. I'm sure this is not the first review you're seeing on the TCL L, as they sent this out to many different people. So I'll save the normal mushy and spec stuff for a different YouTuber. So today I'm going to talk to you about my experience using the 10L. Let's dive right into it. The TCL 10L is a budget device coming in at $250, and you can order it on May 19th. So it's definitely a budget phone through and through, but it gives you things that most people want from a smartphone. Now, visually speaking, this looks like a very modern phone at 6.53 inches, and it's a full HD LCD screen. There is a hole punch. It's at the top left corner of the screen, and of course, the body has a power button, volume rockers, but it also has a smart key. This smart key can be programmed to do different tasks. There's a number of things you can do, but make sure you set it up to be the most non-intrusive, because I found myself hitting the button on accident all the time. Reach in my pocket, grab the phone, I hit the button. Adjust the orientation to watch a video, hit the button. Pick it up off a desk, hit the button. And after about 10 days, I was still doing that, and it was launching Google Assistant every single time. Now, you can program this button to do different things, so you can set up a single press, a double press, and even a hold. I would say it is nice to be able to hold the button down and have it to do an action like maybe Google Assistant, or even double tap for the camera to pop up. Now, you can't program it to open every single app, as it's a list of apps, but it's still nice that you can at least have some customization over it. There's a fingerprint scanner on the back, which functions pretty good, and face unlock works very fast too. The color of the phone that I have is Mariana blue. I'm gonna call it blue. It pops, looks great under sunlight, but it does get fingerprints like none other, and it's slippery plastic. I mean, the fingerprints is probably one of the worst I've seen on the back of a plastic phone. Now, TCL did toss in a case, which is a nice touch, but I wish it wasn't a big advertisement for TCL. Also, the speakers are mono, and they're very weak and downright embarrassing playing at high levels. The screen is pretty saturated. I wouldn't say it's annoying, just not my cup of tea. And there's also a setting called Next Vision, or NEXT Vision, which boosts the colors even more and giving you an HDR effect. I wasn't a fan of how it looked, but I can definitely see how some people may like the look. I just felt it was a little bit weird, but luckily it is something you can turn off. And you can even go into screen settings and change the modes until you find the one that works best for you. So after tweaking it a little bit, I found a screen setting that I liked, and I was okay with it. On the back of the phone, you see a very impressive camera array, and something like this is found on more expensive phones. Now, you do have 4 separate cameras, starting at 48 megapixel for the wide, 8 megapixel for the ultra wide, and 2 megapixels for the macro and also the depth sensor. And we'll talk about cameras really soon. The 10L does come with 64 gigabytes of storage, but it has an SD card slot too, and also 6 gigabytes of RAM. I would say in real world, day-to-day usage, the 10L didn't feel budget at times. I could do things like TikTok and even some gaming without thinking about it. I mean, even some decent web browsing and chatting and switching between apps, it just felt pretty good. But then out of nowhere, doing some basic things like opening a text message or loading a web page, then you start to see some shuddering and lagging, which is kind of confusing that you see it in some easy tasks, but it runs so well in hard tasks. It's quite annoying. Hopefully that can be fixed with software updates, because I think it's more of a software thing than a hardware thing. Now, I think battery life is where it should be based off the specs of this phone. It is a full day worth of battery life, landing me around 25% after a normal day, and that's around 5 to 7 hours of screen on time. It's a lot of heavy usage, intense apps, uploading files to Dropbox, watching videos, podcasts, the occasional game here and there. That's sort of my typical day. And even then, end of the day, 25%, charge it overnight, everything was good. So let's move over to the camera. I would say the camera in daylight and in good lighting scenarios works pretty good. I do think for people and even some objects, the camera was a little overly sharp, leaving some skin looking a bit porous, or also like you take a picture of a tree outside and sometimes that tree looks like it's removed from the background. I know I'm nitpicking, but it does feel like the image is overly processed. The colors were vivid and the image was pretty bright, Some say it may be too saturated, but for a smartphone camera, I really don't mind that. I will say the macro lens to me just wasn't great. I just wasn't able to nail those amazing shots I saw people do online. So it may be just a user error, but I was not able to get it working the way I would hope for it to work. Now, once things get a little bit darker, I'll say after golden hour, let's say 8 p.m. or so, the phone starts to struggle. There is no night mode and the flash just sort of blinds the subject or just gets lost in detail. And this is very typical for budget phones, especially not having a dedicated night mode. Now, video quality is nothing to be super excited about. It shoots at 4K and 1080p, but the video just doesn't look amazing. It's passable outside, but inside without perfect lighting, the video struggles. It's jumpy, it doesn't focus great. There's no optic image stabilization. I know it's a budget phone, so I'm not trying to go too hard on it, but just the video is just something I wouldn't even use at all unless I'm in direct light or outside. There's also no optic image stabilization, so that makes it a little bit tough to do video as well. The front-facing camera takes some pretty good photos, but once again, without proper lighting, the images start to look flat or even blurry at times. And yes, you know by now that TCL puts their watermark on the image, as you can see here in the corner. It's annoying, yes, but you can turn it off. You know, TCL was proactive because they started hearing people complain about it, and they're gonna push out an update that makes this not on by default, but at the same time, it comes off very cheesy. You shouldn't have to dig into settings to turn off an advertisement, but I'm not gonna harp on that. I'll say software-wise, this is Android 10 with the promise of Android 11. This skin feels very close to stock Android, and they added features that aren't pretty bad, like Smart Manager. This is like a task manager you'll see on Windows, but it also allows for a hidden folder, which is definitely a nice touch. And there's a lot of nice little software things sprinkled into this phone, which I think makes it okay. It's not annoying at all. Look, overall for $250, this is a solid phone. It's not a game changer since right now the budget lineup has never been this competitive. For $50 more, then you're in the territory for the Moto G stylus, and overall that might be a better phone. Plus, Moto has a better track record when it comes to phones as well. I just personally don't know how this phone will age. There is a promise for an update, but when will that update come? And all those things like that. I think this is a great first attempt for TCL. TCL is huge in TVs, and I'm excited to see TCL continue to make phones. This is a great first attempt. Is it the best phone for this price? That's debatable, but I will say if you do have this phone, or if you do pick up this phone, you really won't hate it. It's decent, just not great. Anyways guys, Kevin the Tech Ninja here. Have yourself a great day. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.